Check 1, 2. Hey, y'all. Sorry about the late start. I've been working on standing up some unit tests and getting things working in between this morning's session and now, and I kind of lost track of time. But here we are. So without further ado, let me post, I'll flip screens, and I'll post what I'm doing. And I'll add a link to the website that this project is turning into. And I've built out a fairly long, involved unit test, just one. And we're just expecting that ability scores got generated. I'm using just a human commenter background, laborer template, nothing special, and generating the stats. And then I want to make sure that the value of the stats are not zero. That first of all, that we've generated all 6 of the primary ability stats, and that the modifier is present. And I've got all of these working, but I'm not testing that the modifier is correct yet. And I think I might have a problem in my modifier calculator. So what I'm going to do is add a new unit test right here. Fact, public void test ability score modifier calculations. Now, instead of all this stuff, what I want to do we're going to test the range of values that the mod calculator can typically expect and make sure it's working, giving the correct result for whatever score is provided. So var calc equals new ability score modifier. I believe that's what I've called it. Yep. And we got to pull in that namespace. There we go. Now, rather than doing the arrange where I actually, or arrange act assert, this is arrange. I'm going to act and assert at the same time. Assert dot r equal 0. Actually, I'm going to have a whole lot of acts and asserts. Calc dot set parent value to 10 and assert dot equal 0 calc dot calculate. And I'm going to rebuild to bring in this new test. I perhaps should have rebooted my laptop somewhere in amongst all of this stuff I've been doing. But that's okay. We'll get it figured out. So I know that an ability score of 10 should have a modifier of 0. Should evaluate to a modifier of 0. Cool. Just comments for my own sake. And let's refresh my list of tests. Come on, you can do it. Here we go. And let's just run this test. I don't expect it to pass because I've seen evidence that it's not passing. But I am incorrect. So let's do the rest of the range from 1 to 20. And make sure that the modifier is correct. So calc set parent value, that should be -5. 2. And yes, unit testing purists will lose their minds at me. But for something like this, it really just doesn't make sense to have one discrete unit test method for every single one of these values running from 1 to 20. Ack. And it doesn't take that long to set this stuff up. Whoops. Come on, Rob. Okay, here we go. Now this is really, really, really inelegant. I don't love it, but we're going to roll with it for now. So let's just run that one test. And it looks like it succeeded. So that's good. Now, before we go any further on down this route, come on, here we go. You know what? I'm going to restart Visual Studio Code. I don't want to open a remote window. I am going to save everything. Okay. And let's go ahead and commit. Attribute adjustment rules, enhance AbilityScore calculations for NPCs. I'm going to push this up. And I reload the window. Just let it give its head a shake. Okay, now before we go any further down this road, there's something I want to demonstrate, and it's a feature of XUnit. I'm just going to wait for things to wake back up and all that good stuff. Excuse me. All right, so we've got stat builder tests for the current test. Test ability score modifier calculations. I'd like to convert this from a fact into a theory and call it using a data set with the input and expected output parent test, I'd like something a little more maintainable. I know XUnit has a capability for parameterized tests. Please help me refactor this method to use that feature. And we're going to get Copilot, my buddy Claude, Copilot over here, to help me out with this. Okay, convert existing test method, use theory instead of fact. Create test cases using inline data with AbilityScore and expected modifier pairs. Simplify test method to handle a single case using parameters. Group test cases logically by modifier value. Okay. Now, let's take a look at what Claude is suggesting I do. So this is a whole pile of inline data. And that's really, 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 really long. I think this is a good start. So let's go ahead and let it apply. Let's cancel out of there. Let's grab this. You silly goose. I'm going to just grab this and down to the blue one. Copy that, close. Don't save. And grab this. Paste. And pop up here. Outdent by 1. All right. That's a decent start. But all those inline data attributes take up a lot of vertical space. Is there a more compact way of creating, say, a set of data to test the theory? Member data attribute. So let's see what it's talking about down here. Oh, I quite like that. So what it's suggesting, and I knew it was going to suggest something like this, I just couldn't remember the details, is that we create a IEnumerable of object, or an IEnumerable object array, where we create new new things here. So we've got our modifier map. And then we create a key value pair for score and the key, or a new object. Excuse me. So it does all this stuff. That's fine. And then it basically uses this method to call into my what's it and make sure that they're equal. So I like that quite a lot. And I've got this, and let's say apply in editor. And let's accept. And we'll shrink Claude over to the side again. So here's all this, and I want to just pull this down. I'm going to cut it. And where are we here? It's all this stuff. Okay. Okay. And we'll add this here, and I'm just going to wrap this up in a region. Region. Come on. Test data builders. And I'll pop down here and region. Save. We're going to use that technique again when we get back into this part. But I do want to run, or I do want to rerun my unit tests here. And that means coming over here. Come on. Rebuild. I've got an awful lot of stuff open. Here's Outlook. I don't need you. I should leave that open. I think my laptop's in need of a reboot because things are really, really laggy right now. Ability scores, we don't care about that one. I just want to run this guy and make sure it goes. Error building your test projects. Uh-oh. Where's the problem? Game attribute definition. This is derived, is assigned, but it's never used. This is derived. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're going to need to do stuff with that later. That's fine. But why won't test projects why couldn't it build my test project? There's output, debug console, terminal. Here we go. And let's rebuild the creation engine test project. Doesn't say there's any problems. Got some warnings, but that's all right. We can deal with those for now. Yeah, it looks like it's okay. Let's just run those. Rebuild and try running them again. The testing stuff that's built into Visual Studio Code isn't my favorite, but it'll do. And let's just run the stat builder tests. see what we get. Come on. Okay, that worked. How about you? For some reason, that didn't run. Stat builder tests. So we're good here. We've got our fact. Try run test at cursor. Debug test at cursor. Try that. Yeah, this is just not working well. That's all right. Here's what we'll do. We'll just completely quit out of Visual Studio Code. Come back in. Let it give its little head a shake. Take a look at this stuff. Rebuild. Hey, C Films. I'm glad to see that you are doing great. I'm doing okay. I'm just fighting with Visual Studio Code right now. It's being silly. Tests. And that's not going to let me build the whole shebang. Reveal in Finder. Man, my machine is very, very, very unhappy with me right now. Excuse me. Oh no, it's just dragging its butt trying to build the solution. Here we go. That's more like it. All right. Still going. Okay. Theoretically, it's good. Let's try running all of these. Try running these. Try running them one at a time. Yeah. This is being really, 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 really not great. All right. Build. We'll try building the dice test thingy. And we'll try building the townsfolk manager. Refresh my test runner. Don't you just love it when technology that you take for granted decides that it's just going to misbehave horribly? That's so much fun. Let me try running those tests. Okay, So it's able to run those, no problem. Let's run that test. And it's still not doing anything. Theory, member data. Okay. We've got our test data builders down here. No joke. Stat builder tests. Oh, look at that. Let's try this. Save. Close that. Project game tools not compatible with Net 8. Oh, that's a problem too. Rule sets. Let's flip this over to 8. Save. Rebuild the solution. I was trying to use 2 different versions of the .NET Core framework here. That could be part of the problem. I don't think it is though, because I just had this stuff working before the stream started. All right. Come back down here to my test suite. Refresh. Come on, ya booger. Rebuild again. Refresh. I don't know why this thing is being so goofy. Just outright goofy. Let's restart it again. Open in VS Code. Gotta do all the things. It's loading its projects. And let's take a look. There it goes. Here's some. Now, let's see if that decides to work. Hey, there we go. All right, so those are failing. Some of them are. Let's run this guy, make sure it decides to work. It works. So, where's my test results? Here we are. And we'll rerun this and see what we get. expected modifier was that, result is that. We pull this over. Here we go. And let's hide this. Now, ability score. 7 expected modifier -2. Okay, that's correct. On a 9, it should be -1. Excuse me. On a 3, it should be -4. That's correct. Okay, so I just want to debug on the failed assertions. Or I could just do this, debug this guy. All right, so the ability score here is 5. The expected modifier is -3. Is that correct? New window. D&D 5E. Ability score modifier table. Let's take a look. Ability scores and modifiers. Here we go. So I want to verify that test data first. So we'll let that run, let it fail. So -5 maps to an ability score of 1. Correct. 2 and 3 is -4. 4 and 5 is -3. Okay, so the values that came out for this test batch are correct. And I just went up to 20. Okay, so those are correct. Oh, the descriptions? It's coming, man. I haven't done anything else as far as generating new NPCs since I started working on the ability score stuff. But as of the end of the day last, I think it was Thursday, when I started working on, or when I did the personality trait stuff, I'm very, very, very happy with how that's coming out. Okay, so the ability score here is 5. I expect it to be -3, but the result is -2. So we need to take a look at what's going on in here. And we got to jump to the cursor and step in. So, -5 divided by 2 equals 2.5, and it's rounding towards 0. That's the problem. This is failing for values less than 10 and odd. When it tries to divide by 2, it is rounding toward 0. When it should be rounding down. Save. So parent value minus 10 is negative 5. You take negative 5 negative 5 divided by 2 equals negative 2.5. But as we can see from our table, it's rounding down rather than, or the table value is expected to round down rather than towards 0, which is what's happening up here. Yeah. So let's just carry on, let it fail, finish failing. And let's go into the AbilityScore modifier and have a little chat with Copilot. I see why some of my AbilityScore modifiers are calculating incorrectly. When the score parent value is less than 10 and we try to divide by 2 is odd and less than 10, it's either truncating to an int or rounding toward 0. We need it to round down for these calculations. Let's see what Copilot comes up with. Always rounding. We need to ensure that we're always rounding down. Okay, so converts the division to use floating point arithmetic by using 2.0. Uses MathFloor to always round down, casts the result back to an int. And I say, do it. Apply that. Accept. All right. Now let's come back over to our test cases. And before we do that, let's go ahead and rebuild. Now I could have just come over here and said, why are my test cases failing? And Copilot might have gotten it. But that, if I didn't know what I was asking, it may not have come up with the correct answer. And if I didn't know what I was doing, I wouldn't know that it didn't come up with the correct answer. So this is how I reply to programmers aren't necessary. We can get AI to do this stuff for us. I'm like, not so fast whenever I run into somebody making that argument. Okay, we are all good. Yes, a language model might get it right, but I don't trust them enough to just take it on faith that they will. All right, all that to test what's going on inside my stat builder stuff. And I need to come back over to stat builder tests. I can get rid of that breakpoint because this test is now reliably passing, so we can collapse that. And as a matter of fact, let's come in here and throw away all of these breakpoints. Excuse me. And what I want to do is break here on the strength. And I just want to look over all of these stats that we've generated and pulled out and make sure that the modifiers are correct. Let's save, come over to our tests, debug this, because when I was working in this prior to the afternoon stream, what I was seeing is that they were not correct. As a matter of fact, I haven't altered anything in here yet, so I predict that all of these modifiers are going to be coming out as -5 because that's what I saw at the time. And the base value on that modifier is in fact -5. So let's find out what's going on. Come up here, jump to cursor, and let's step in. So we create our attribute generator, that's fine. And now we'll go into the .toStack collection, which is a method I added. We're going to get to step through it and review it as I go. So I create a new thing called a stat collection, which is just a generic collection of named objects that have a base value and a current value. And of course, we're going to go through our attribute groups. We have a group called AbilityScores. And then for each one of these, we're going to convert that attribute into a stat data instance using the method that I added on the, I believe it's a game stat. No, it's a character attribute. So let's step into this. If value was calculated, it has not been. So we need to step into calculate value. Calculator equals null. Calculator.calculate. Good. For each derived attributes, set parent value. We're going to set the parent value to, what's our calculated value? It's 13. And here we go. We say value was calculated. Stat data equals new stat data. Derived attribute.calculate value. We need to step in here. Has AI improved my development ability? I don't know that it's necessarily improved my development ability, but it has certainly made me more efficient and effective as a developer. So calculate name. And let's come down here. This is derived equals true. Parent value equals 13. I'm up here, and I haven't passed that parent value into the calculator object yet. So this is where we get a little tricky, because if I step into calculate, my parent value is 0 because I haven't set it yet. And that's the problem. All right. Character attributes. That is here. 2stat collection, 2stat data. Let's go to this one. Come on. Go to implementation. Come on. AbilityScore group. Game attribute definition. Go here. All right. 2stat data. Now, let's ask Copilot what it thinks here. I'm running into trouble here when trying to execute the derived stats calculate value method. I need to configure the calculator with its input values, but in this class, I don't know what parameters it wants a particular calculator might use. Set parent value, no. Not all attribute calculators will have parent values. However, any implementation for attribute calculator will have a configure inputs kind of method with a variable parameter list. The concrete implementation will be responsible for hydrating this list. Isn't there some kind of structure in .NET 8 where we can specify a vague list of parameters on a function? Yep, that's what I'm going to have to do. Parent value, parent value. Yeah, no. That's almost there. All right. So we're going to take this. And this is going to be a sizable refactor. But luckily, I've already got unit tests set up for this kind of thing. So I need to come out to game attribute definition. There we are. And on attribute calculator, we're going to paste that. Configures the inputs for the calculator. Now, I have just broken the concrete calculators that I've already implemented. Luckily, they're all in one place. We're going to come into rule sets, 5ESRD, stack calculators, and let's do the NPC ability. Well, let's do the AbilityScore modifier calculator first. Sometimes I do test-driven development. Sometimes, like if I've got, if what I'm working on has is an algorithm or a calculation or what have you that has deterministic results, and the possible set of inputs is very, 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 very large, and I want to test them all, or perhaps the inputs themselves are non-deterministic, I'll write automated tests to test a wide range of values across what could possibly be put in and make sure that it's getting the right stuff out. Other times, I'll just rely on actual usage of the application to test stuff. It really depends on what I'm building at the time. Void. Here we go. Inputs.contains key, parent value. And can I do a string comparer? Nope. All right. Public const string input key parent value equals parent value. Save. That's just a little affordance for other developers. Key parent value. V. There we go. And I'm going to need to add some stuff here. Set parent value. I'm not going to, yeah, let's not worry about that. Let's just do parent value equals. I'll get rid of this. Save. All right. Public void configure inputs dictionary string object blah 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 blah. I'm going to do this tidy up later on. But you can kind of see where I'm going with this to fix these things up. And I have reached the 1 hour mark. My unit tests are going to fail miserably, or at least this one is, because I'm breaking. Oh, nope, I haven't broken stuff yet, but I'm about to. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get this stuff working the way I want it to be. And I think just before we break for the day, var mod calc equals new ability score modifier. All right. Modcalc dot, oh, what are you doing? Modcal dot configure inputs. I don't like that, but we'll get there. Ability dot input key parent value. Let's just do this. Var strmod equals modcal.calculate and assert.r equal that. And not r equal, but just equal. If it comes out as null, I'm going to default it to -10 and cause a massive failure. So let's run this test again. Stat builder test is going to throw up on me, maybe. Oh, yeah. Problems. Set parent value. Oh, yeah. Set parent value, ability score. Oh, that's right. I have to configure the inputs. Dot input. Here we go. Save. What's this complaining about? Rebuild. There we go. That problem went away. So let's go ahead and rerun both of those tests. See what we get. Okay, so the ability score mod thing worked. Our test stat builder, it failed as expected. Yep. I expected a -2. I got a -5. this is what I'm going to work on getting working between now and tomorrow.